Okay, so first storyteller is myself, Patti Christensen.
Yay, Patti!
Huzzah!
And I want to share with you a true life adventure that happened, I would say about 10 years ago. My husband came home one day and said, I just heard of a wonderful opportunity. How would you like to go teach English in China?
Oh yeah.
I said, teach English in China? How does one go do this? Well, he heard that there was a group that was putting together teachers, musicians, artists, storytellers, drama people to go for 5 weeks to China, where we were going to do a 3-week summer school program with middle-class Chinese 4th through 8th graders. They did a lot of recruiting, talked this up and said, this will be easy, no problem. You're going to come in, everything will be ready for you. You'll just deliver the curriculum, it'll be really fun. Sounds great. Was the sort of thing, they didn't pay us anything, but they paid our airfare, our hotel, our traveling around before and after, all of our food. All we had to do is show up and be with the kids. Well, I happen to have my t-shirt on from this program. The theme of this summer school program was called The American Scene.
Wow, nice.
Yeah, there we go. And it was the opportunity for these middle-class Chinese kids to get a chance to learn from authentic English speakers. Now, as it turns out, these kids and most middle-class kids in China had been studying English since 1st grade. So they were actually pretty good at reading and writing English, but basically none of them have ever talked to a native English speaker before. As it turns out, their teachers were also not native English speakers. They were Chinese teachers who had learned English, also not from native speakers. So everyone was very, very excited that the Americans were here and we were going to get a chance to teach these kids 3 weeks of summer school where they were going to learn English, and especially verbal English, by visual arts, music, games, and drama and storytelling. Sounded like a piece of cake, no problem. As it turns out though, the teachers who staffed this are both public school teachers and other people who had a lot of classroom experience. The curriculum, however, was designed by a PhD who actually had only had experience teaching at the doctoral level. So her idea of the perfect curriculum that was going to work for these 4th through 8th graders, well, they handed it out and we started looking through it. And it didn't look so good. It looked kind of problematic. It looked like, oh goodness, what are we going to have to do? But, well, here's how she designed it. Said, wouldn't it be fun? We're going to have a week prep and then 3 weeks of classes. How about every week we could have a theme? Sounds good. A theme is good. So, what are the themes? Theme number 1, biomes. Because nothing could be more applicable to elementary school Chinese children than learning words in English for animals and plants of the tundra, and of the jungle, and of the desert. So that was the first week. Second week was career exploration. What do you want to be when you grow up? Okay, seems like that might work. And third week was travel around the world in 5 days. So, all sounded like could be fine. Normally I would think if you were going to have themes, they would perhaps build on each other 1 week after the next, but no, that's okay. We could do this. So, we got started. Rapid. I have to admit, I had some predisposition about what Chinese children were going to be like. You know, when you travel, you get a chance sometimes to see children, greet children, but you don't get to actually get to know them. Well, right away they came in. They were fun and shy and going on. But the very first day, each child stood up and introduced themselves. Now, those of you who might have taken a foreign language in maybe junior high or high school know often you choose a name from that country. That's a very common thing. I was Gretel in my German class. There were lots of those kind of names. However, these kids didn't have too much help. Well, there was some Bob and Susan kind of names and Ken. But we also had one boy stood up and said, "Hello, my name is Lion King." Okay, interesting. But my most favorite little girl, very adorable, pigtails, 4th grader, stood up and said, "Hi, my name is Martini."
Clearly didn't know about Mead.
Yeah, could have had a Mead name. Yes. So we started to get to know the kids and all going on. Now, as it happens, in the structure for the class, they decided not only, they divided it by grades. So there was the 4th grade, the 5th grade, the 6th grade, 7th grade, in that kind of way. And then there were the 4 disciplines. So what happened was every day within your 4, each kid got to rotate around with their little cohort. They went to games, and then they went to music, and then they went to visual arts, and then they went to story and drama. So they moved around. Now somebody said, you know what we should do? We should have a Chinese English teacher who came along with the group. Good idea. All the instruction was going to be happening in English, and maybe we would get stuck. So seemed like a good idea. However, nobody thought to prep those teachers or integrate them in either the planning or the execution. So mostly they just like hung out in a corner as it went along. Now the kids, they were not really used to American teaching styles. They were ready to sit in desks with paper and pens and take tests. We pushed everything aside and said, sit down on the floor, kids, we're gonna move. And for a while, it was like, here we go. However, on the second day, some of these boys got it. As soon as it said, move over, get ready, one boy took and bam, punched another kid right in the crotch.
Oh.
I'm like, oh, okay, what happened to well-behaved Chinese children? And the teacher in the back didn't do anything. So I'm like, I don't really know how to do discipline in Chinese. So we were trying to work these things out. Now, as it turns out, the teachers, well, they were helpful with some things, and we got to know them, but we also hit some cultural kind of things. Now, when we were in the week where we were studying about careers and jobs, I was trying to talk about the English word. I was talking about things you're good at, things you have talent for. Lots of blank squares come back from the kids. Finally, I turned to my Chinese helper teacher, said, Mr. Freddie, can you tell me what you are talented in? He stood up proudly and said, I have a great talent in drinking beer. To our group of 4th graders. Now he didn't say Mead.
Yep.
Maybe that would have been better with Mead. But drinking beer is like, okay, thank you. Moving along. One of the other teachers, it was summer school time, remember, so people weren't wearing their fancy clothes. But one of the Chinese teachers one day showed up in a t-shirt that said, math sucks. So I thought, you know how sometimes you buy a shirt somewhere in another language and you don't know what it means? Thought that was probably it. Went up and said, do you know what that is? And she said, oh yeah, I hate math. I said, but you're one of the teachers. We're supposed to help kids to like math. She said, I hate math. Math sucks. Okay, thank you. So going on. Now, not only were we working on what are you talented, really good at, but in that week it was time to say, so what kind of job do you think you want to do? And those were actually, they were kind of interested in the vocabulary going on. These are middle class kids, and this was still at the time when most of these kids were only kids in their family. Now things have opened up a little bit more, and some Chinese families have 2 kids now, but mostly they were single kids in their family from middle class families. So when it got to be time, said, so stand up and say, what do you want to be when you grow up? Well, there were some doctors and there were some teachers. The most popular answer was, I would like to be a boss like my dad. It's like, okay, we obviously had a lot of bosses' kids there. We talked about that. But the second most popular job that these kids wanted to be was American FBI agents.
Oh, wow.
And I'm going, I'm not sure that's really allowed. Can you grow up as a Chinese kid to be an FBI agent? But it was like, okay, exploring. They obviously had seen a lot of the movies. They wanted to be FBI agents. That looked like a cool job. And on Friday that week, they had sent notes home and said, it's the day, send your kid to school dressed out what they want to be when they grow up. So we had people with little microscopes and lab coats and things going on. Our FBI agent crew all showed up with trench coats and toy guns. They had toy guns and they brought them to school. All of the American teachers froze, said, oh no, 0 tolerance for weapons at school, we can't have this. The Chinese teacher said, I don't know what you're talking about, it's a toy. No, in American schools, if you brought a fake weapon to school, you could be expelled. And they said, we watch those American movies. Everybody in America has guns. You can't have a toy gun if you're an FBI agent? And like, no, no, it wouldn't be allowed. So they were scratching their heads at us as much as we were at them, trying to know how this would be. Now we went through and we did these different topics, but what I forgot to tell you was the most challenging piece of this at all was they told us after developing this curriculum, most of which was unusable, said, and by the way, every Friday night of these 3 weeks, there will be an all-school show featuring all 700 children from this school. So, wait, you mean at the end of the program, at the end of the time, it's like, no, every Friday night, we promised, there will be a parent open house and a show. So it went from, okay, we'll just deliver the curriculum to, holy crap, we're going to have an audience full of people who want to see a show. So they were very, very lucky that in the music section of this, there happened to be several young men in their 20s, teachers, who actually also happened to be talented musicians, who could play keyboard and drum sets and sing and do some stuff. So with their help, we managed to piece together 3 different shows every Friday night from 6 until 8, filled the auditorium, kids, parents. As it turns out, it's not a cultural norm in China to have what we might call good audience behavior. That wasn't, parents sat and they talked to each other loudly during our show. We sat with the kids trying to keep them shh, shh, shh. They talked loudly, everybody talked loudly. We did the shows, we picked the songs, we did the best we could. The very last night when we finished the last of these performances, to some pretty good applause, people were pleased with it. One of the Chinese teachers came up and said, it was very nice. I will tell you, in China, we usually actually take a longer time to create a show. And said, you know what? In the US, we usually do that too. And so that was the end of my story of the great adventure of teaching China kids English through the arts and creating a show every Friday night for 3 weeks. Thank you very much.